Hush now, the stars have opened their eyes, and so too must we to the wonders of old. I am Alira Moondrift, and this is Story Time, a moment of magic woven through the twilight by the Fantasy Broadcast Network. Let your heart be still, for the tale is ready to begin. The singing, springing lark, written by Joseph Jacobs. A king once had two sons, and when they were grown up, he said to them, "Go out into the wide world, and I will give you the half of my kingdom if you will bring me back an ostrich." The elder said, "It is impossible, for it hath never been known any man could catch an ostrich." But the younger said, "Put a bridle in my hand, and I will fetch thee an ostrich." So the king put a bridle in his hand, and gave him the horse and a servant for his company. They rode and rode, till at last they came to a forest, and there they lighted by a well, and the brother took the bridle and made a halter of it, and hanged it on a tree, and said to the servant, "Sit here and wait for me. I will only go down this glen to yonder town, and I will buy bread and apples and be with thee in a little while." So he went away and came to the town, and he went walking in the street and saw two old women sitting by a door spinning. One of them looked at him and said, "Thou handsome young man, wilt thou do me a good turn? If thou wilt, go to the king my master and ask him to give me back my two spindles which he stole from me." He said, "I will be happy to do thee a kindness," and he went to the king and said, "Wilt thou do me a good turn?" The king answered, "Be it what it may, thou shalt have my wife's maidened hair if thou wilt do me that favor." So he said, "I will, but on one condition. If I find my head off when I come back, I'll take no denial." The king said, "I promise thee my word of a king, thou shalt find thine head on thine shoulders when thou comest back." So he went to the two old women, and they gave him two enchanted spindles, and they told him to wind their gold thread. When he had wound a little way, they said, "Put the spindle in water for an instant." He put it in, and at once out came a dove with a child in its beak, and it flew away. He went wandering about, looking for it, when at last he found it in a certain forest, sitting on a mossy bank, and the child was asleep under a tree. He took up the child and closed it in his mantle by the side of his heart, and walked on, till at last he came to a town with high walls, and there he saw an old mother sitting with her back to the wall and spinning. He went to her and asked her if she would sell him some ostrich eggs, and she said yes, if he would bring her the singing, springing lark that dwelt in a certain bush. He went away and found the bush, and saw the lark with her young ones. He took her up and said, "Sing, singing, springing lark, sing for me one song." The lark flew away, and he followed her till he came to a well. There was an old woman drawing water, and she had a golden cage, and in the cage was the lark. He took the spindle out of his bosom, and with it he struck the old hag, and she turned quite black and flew away, and the lark came back to him and sang as he desired her. So he went and sold her and bought a pair of ostrich eggs, and carried them to his servant, and mounted his horse and rode away. He came to his brother and threw the eggs down by the bridle, and said, "Take these, and take care thou dost none of them break, and when they are hatched, take one egg and mount it on the strongest ostrich, and go with it to the king, and seek me wheresoever thou mayest find me." The elder took the eggs, and when they were hatched, he mounted one on an ostrich, and rode to the palace, and the king said, "Bring me the egg, and I will reward thee." So he selected the strongest ostrich, and mounted the egg upon it. The ostrich fled, and the king's men followed after, till they came to a lofty tower, and began to call to him who was within, but the ostrich thereupon flew away, and they could not overtake it. At last they came to a garden where they saw a well, and the ostrich abode by the well. They asked the name of the place, and a servant answered, "This is the palace of the king's daughter, and she lives by herself in this garden." So they returned to the king and said, "We can find him no more, for the ostrich fled away from us." So the king counseled his son to take another ostrich, and he did so. But the ostrich took him to the same place, and they saw the king's daughter, who said to the younger son, "Thou art hunted entirely from thy father's palace, and I will help thee." She gave him the shirt that she wore, and 3 birds under each armpit, whose song would cast a spell on whosoever came against him. When he came to the king, he laid off the shirt, and the king said, "Bring me the egg, and before ye mount it, strike it against the stone that stands before our gate." The younger son did so, and the egg opened, and out came a viper that stung the king, so that on the morrow he died, and they made the elder son king over all the land.